that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the church. Message in a minute.
Hi, and welcome to another Message in a Minute. Today's pretty special because I have a quasi-live studio audience. Actually, I've got a couple people sitting here watching me record this today. So it's better than just me talking to a camera, pretending that I'm talking to you directly. Anyway, what are we going to talk about today? The fear of the Lord. You know, I think about that term, the fear of the Lord, and there's a lot of different types of fears. But having a godly, reverent fear of the Lord is very critical. Now, one of the things is, you probably know, I always love definitions. And when we look at the word fear, and let's go to the Hebrew, yirah, which translates to reverence, awe, amazement, admiration. But if we go to the Greek, which is the Greek here again, most of the New Testament was written in Greek. A lot of the Old Testament was written in Hebrew. And the Greek is phobos, or terror or alarm. Likewise, reverence and respect. Now that word phobos is where we get the word phobias from, fear, having a phobia of something. But we also want to look at, from what we're talking about today, is the perspective of reverent fear, and that reverent fear of God. So when we look at God-centered or God-centric types of fear, there's kind of two types we're going to talk about. One is having an anxiety over breaking God's law. Now, what do we mean by that? Okay, that's the fear that motivates people to do good deeds so God doesn't punish them. You know, we're motivated not to do bad things. And, you know, you hear people talking about karma. Well, you know, if you do something bad, then something's going to happen to you later on. That's kind of where that whole thing with karma comes about. But for me, the type of reverent fear that I prefer when I think about this is that profound reverent fear for life that comes from seeing the awesomeness of God. Or it's really the motivation to do good things. So when we think about this thing, fear, what motivates you? Not to do bad? Or are you motivated to do good? For me, I try to strive to live my life to be motivated to do good. Because, you know, God is a what? Good God. So we should be motivated to do good things instead of just be motivated not to do bad things. That's not the side of life that I choose to live on. So when we look at, you know, from a biblical perspective, let's pull up some scriptures from Proverbs, because there's a lot to be said in Proverbs about fear, godly fear. And Proverbs 1:7, what does it say? The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools, does what? Fools despise wisdom and instruction. Proverbs 9:10 tells us something very similar. The fear of the Lord is what? The beginning of wisdom. We've got wisdom and knowledge. And the knowledge of the holy is understanding. And when we look at Proverbs 10:27, it says what? The fear of the Lord prolongs days. You want a long life? Yeah, there you go. But the years of the wicked shall be shortened. And the last one that I also like says what? The fear of the Lord is a fountain. I like a fountain, like bubbling up. A fountain of life to depart from the snares of death. But also, when I look at this in context of what Deuteronomy 10:12 tells us, is that we need to walk in this type of reverence. Walk, meaning that our conversation, our lifestyle should be built around godly fear. And Deuteronomy 10:12, you can read this with me. It should be right here on the screen. And now, Israel, what does the Lord your God require of you? But to do what? Yes, fear the Lord your God, walk in all of his ways, to love him, to serve the Lord your God. And how is he telling to do that? With all of your heart and with all of your soul. And if you go into Mark, the book of Mark in the New Testament, chapter 12, I think around 34, 35. Jesus said the same thing about, you know, when he was asked, what is the greatest commandments? Love the Lord your God. How? With all of your heart, your soul, your mind, and your strength. So when we are walking in reverent fear of God, that's when we become motivated to do good things, and we're less motivated just not to do the bad things. Okay? Got that? Fear of the Lord. Let's walk in it. Let's do it. Listen, he who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the church.
He that has an ear, let him hear